So I finally got around to finishing my Arduino-based light meter project. I haven't really worked on it in over a year, but finally was inspired to finish it, so it's done. Basically, I wanted something that was small and portable, like this light meter, which I love. But these vintage light meters really only work during the day when there's kind of a lot of light out. So I wanted something that worked in low light, but that was more portable than my professional Spectra 4 meter. So here it is. Go ahead and turn it on. So that's it. So you can set the ISO, set the shutter speed. There's a bunch of options. I'm going to set it to Lux mode right now so we can compare it to my Spectra. You can set the polling mode. That's like the resolution that the sensor uses. Gain. It goes to sleep automatically after 10 seconds into a power save mode. Battery info, which is basically just the voltage. And that's it. So let's go ahead and compare it to the Spectra. Put it in Lux mode. All right. And mine. I mean, it's definitely in the range. So great, it works great. Definitely good enough for an exposure. It's definitely in the ballpark. So let's set it back to standard mode. And there you go. So at an ISO at 1600 ASA, or ISO at 1/125th of a second. And then Spectra is saying somewhere around about a 2.8. Yep. 2.5, 2.8. Yep. Pretty good. So I can take the display plastic off. Probably helps. So yeah. When you click, it turns back. So you can turn the sleep time off or to whatever time it wants. Right now it's on 10 seconds. It'll turn off. And it should stay. The battery should charge it. I don't know how long it'll last, but it should be a week, maybe longer in low power mode. And then you just click the rotary encoder and it turns back on. Take more readings. Go ahead and change the ISO. So let's put it on 400. And go through the shutter speeds. And the frames per second. So if you're shooting 24 frames per second, you'd want to shoot it at 2.5 at 400 speed film. Very cool. And then just turn it off. So let's just take a look inside real quick. There's just a little 3D printed cover on the rotary encoder. Crack it open. There's the OLED on top. Everything's just hot glued in. And then there's the light meter sensor. It's a TSL 2591, I believe. It's the higher sensitivity one. Rotary encoder. my circuit board. There's a NPN transistor that, when it goes into low power mode, cuts off power to the OLED and to the meter, to the sensor. So those shouldn't be drawing power at all. And then the board goes into low power mode. And then there's the power switch and batteries. Let's look through the code a little bit. I'm not a programmer, so this is probably all done like the wrong way. There's probably way better ways to do all this stuff. I'm kind of making it up as I go. So let's go through quickly. This is all the libraries includes. This is for the OLED. It's for the rotary encoder and a timer for the rotary encoder. This is for the light meter. We're using the EEPROM to store some information for, when you turn the unit off, and when you turn it back on, it knows what ISO you had it at and what shutter speed and stuff like that. And then this last thing is for the low power mode. Some more stuff for the OLED, and some stuff for the rotary encoder. This is all the bitmap information for the boot animation. You can see it's boot frame 1, it's going to be a bunch of this stuff, boot frame 2, etc., etc. This is the graph of the bitmap graphic for the battery full charge, low charge, etc. For the settings icon, and for the f-stop graphic. All these things are stored in the program memory to save on space, because actually I do a lot of stuff to actually store things in the program memory, probably needlessly so, but at one point I was running low and it was causing some issues. So, but if I compile this, you can see, it's filling up the memory pretty good. So, you want to save some memory. All right, so then we have, this is for the light meter, a bunch of variables, the f-stops and a bunch of variables, Lux, setup modes, stuff for all the menus and stuff like that, power save mode stuff, etc. Here's some more arrays I'm storing. This is all the f-stop values. They're not all whole numbers, so it's kind of hard to store them. This is for configuring the light meter. Here's setting the EEPROMs. So you can see, this subroutine writes the film speed and the shutter speed. This one writes the display mode, so that's letting you know whether it's showing Lux or f-stops or whatnot. Battery information. It's just storing a bunch of settings. At the beginning, it runs this, and that reads the display mode and the sensitivity and all the other settings stored in the EEPROM. So here's the setup. Here's setting up the rotary encoder, setting up the OLED, drawing all the boot frames, some stuff for the encoder. So there's the EEPROM, setting all the defaults, configuring the sensor. This is for the timer, for power off timer. This is for getting the battery voltage. Battery voltage is kind of tricky. I'm not exactly sure. When we get down further, you'll see the battery graphic. I'm sort of guessing on the voltages for what's full and what's empty. I'm not really sure yet. This is if you want to display the voltage. Here's the light meter. Calling the light meter, getting the luminosity. It's the information from the light meter and full spectrum. Calculating the Lux, and then here's the Lux, and then here's a calibration number that gets me in the ballpark of what's accurate. And that there's a bunch of variables involved in that. I have that 3D printed white dome on top. It's supposed to just diffuse it, but that cuts the light down. So there's a bunch of variables there. This computes the light meter.
I'm not sure on a lot of this math. It's you can look up a lot of stuff online. You get a lot of different information, kind of piece things together. This is what worked for me. I saw other people had other light meter stuff, um, but this was what works for me. So yeah. So basically, I mean, we can go through it real quick, I guess. So this is getting what the shutter speed is from the from the memory. This is needed for getting stuff from prog.mem. It's kind of complicated, probably overly complicated for this, but at one time I needed it. So anyway, you get the shutter. So this is getting what the actual shutter speed is. Basically, it's if it's normal shutter speed, or if it's in seconds, or if it's in frames per second. You have to compute things differently to get what the actual shutter exposure time is, I guess you could say. Film speed is just getting the ISO. Here's getting this is computing the f-stop. So numerator, denominator. Yeah, this worked for me to do everything in the numerator and then, do that separately. It worked better. I don't know why, but whatever. And this is, displaying the f-stop. So if it is displaying the f-stop, you have to place it differently depending on what the f-stop is, and you have to print different things. It's kind of complicated. And more stuff to get from prog.mem. This is how to display the shutter speed, 1 over seconds, minutes, frames per second. This is all menu stuff. All different options, display options, polling options, etc. This actually displays what's on screen. Places the f-stop, places the shutter speed, places Lux if it's in Lux mode, places ISO, and all the information that's written on screen, unless it's in setup mode. If it's in setup mode, it does this instead, which is displaying setup information instead of the normal light meter information. And then in the actual loop, all we're really doing is getting the rotary encoder information and doing all the clicking with the rotary encoder. Whether you double click or, what it displays, what it flashes. And then there's some stuff for sleeping and power off. Battery stuff, displaying it. And I don't even know some other variables that do something probably. Alright, and so finally, let's just take a look at some photos that I took using the light meter for exposure. These photos were taken with a Certo Super Sport Dolly. It's a medium format rangefinder camera from, I think, like 1938. So this is the first photo. Here's a close-up detail shot. And this is the scan without any correction or anything like that. Here's a second photo, and then the detail shot. The detail's at 80%, so we could go a little closer, but this is what looks good. And this is the uncorrected off the scanner shot. These were shot on Ilford HP5 Plus and processed in D76 1:1, scanned on a Microtech 10000 XL. They're pretty dirty, as you can see, but that's fine with me. I might have gone a little too shadowy with color correction, a little too contrasty, but it's just a matter of taste, I guess. This is Sunset Boulevard. Some people take some Instagram photos. These are all taken just around Hollywood. And there's the last one, some people shooting some 16mm on Sunset Boulevard. And here is the uncorrected. Alright, so yeah, that's it.